All right, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Sunday. Hope you're all enjoying your weekend. So for today's video, we're going to cover the weekly watch list and go through my favorite setups for the week ahead. So first things first, let's cover the economic calendar for the week ahead. Big week, right? We do have a FOMC. So let's pull this up. All right. So Monday, Tuesday, really nothing much. Obviously, the biggest thing we have this week is going to be FOMC on Wednesday with Powell at 2:30 press conference there. And then we do have initial jobless claims coming out again on Thursday, and then flash PMI there about 15 minutes into the open on Friday. So definitely going to be a pretty big week. Main thing is Wednesday, right? So the game plan for early on in the week is to, again, keep things light in terms of size, really only focus on 1 to 2 good trades. If that, to kind of start the week off right on Monday and on Tuesday. So, after Wednesday, we can look to be a little bit more aggressive. Will be very interesting to see what Powell has to say and what the interest rate decision is. But following that decision, right, we can look to be a little bit aggressive. Probably won't be looking to play, any lottos leading up into FOMC. Probably wait, 30 minutes, 20 minutes after and see what Powell has to say, and then, look for an entry on a position. So again, keep it light Monday, Tuesday. Biggest thing this week is FOMC. Alrighty, now let's take a look at the setups that I'm focusing on. So the first one we have here is Tesla. Now, Tesla last week, right, starting the week off with a really strong move on an upgrade, gapped up over 261, held that 261 support, and ended up moving higher. Now, from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right, kind of struggled to see any sort of upside momentum, and really Monday was, the only actionable day for the most part, besides um, besides Tuesday, right? So with Tesla this week, I'm looking at 280. Okay, so for this week, 280 on Tesla. If we can get through 280, this should ultimately be set up for a push up into the 284 range. Now, with Tesla, we do have a gap fill on the daily. We have this low of 289.52 and the high here of 280.93. So we definitely are going to see some sellers in this range, unless obviously just as another catalyst this week and we can just rip through 280. So the main target for me to kind of start the week off is this range of like 283 to 284. And then if we can get through that, it's possible we see that gap fill. And again, 289.52. Okay, so keep an eye on 280. That is the main level for calls. If this fails again at 270, then puts can be in play, right, for a breakdown. Alrighty, now Netflix. So Netflix, major breakdown last week on Tuesday from 440 all the way down into 400, right? So looking at this pullback here, I mean, even from Monday, right? Our Monday high was what, 450? So we saw a pullback from basically 450 all the way down to that low from Friday. So this thing almost moved 12% to the downside in 4 days. Okay, and now we're trading at a massive support zone, which is 400. It's actually a range even of 397 and 400. Okay, what I'm seeing with Netflix here is the last few days, right? Volume is still way above average, but the momentum is dying off. Okay, and on Friday we had the overall market breaking down aggressively. Okay, but Netflix, right, was able to find some buyers under 400 and really didn't break down a whole lot, right? Netflix was only down 0.89% there on Friday. So momentum is starting to die off following this 12% pullback. Okay, so since we have FOMC on Wednesday, the focus for me early on in the week is to actually look for calls as a bounce play. All right, and if Netflix can get that reclaim of 400, I'm very interested in looking for a bounce because it is a psychological spot. It's a key psychological level, right? And since momentum has been kind of lacking the last few days on the breakdown, if Netflix does see a reclaim of 400, I think we can bounce, another 2 3 points, maybe even into 405. All right. And then later on in the week, depending on how FOMC goes and we fail at 400 again, then puts can be in play. But early on in the week, I definitely do like Netflix for a bounce. It's just the R&R to the downside at this point, especially following a 12% pullback, right? It really isn't all that great. All right. Now Meta here, we're looking at 300 as the main focus for this week. Okay, over 300, right? It can trade in the range of 310 and 300, right? So about 3% range there. But if this fails at 300, I do think we can see another pullback into that 295 range. So same kind of thing, right? With Netflix, I'm not really looking for a breakdown on 300 early on in the week. I do think Meta can hold it, especially if the overall market can kind of base a little bit tomorrow. I do think Meta holds 300. Now, if it loses 300, then puts are absolutely in play. Looking at the weekly, right, and objectively here, we really have kind of an overglorified bear flag ultimately, right? And we failed to get through this high from August 14th, that weekly chart, right? Sorry, that weekly candle there. So failed to get through, closed right at 300. So ideally for tomorrow, we see a little bit of a bounce off of 300 and then a breakdown under that level, Tuesday, Wednesday, ideally after Wednesday. But if Meta gets any sort of a bearish catalyst, definitely we'll be focusing on puts tomorrow on this name. Now Apple. So Apple here is trading in this range of about 173.50 to 175. And Apple is actually holding 175. Okay. And this range of 173.50 to 175, right, was a previous resistance back in May, right, following earnings. So with Apple here, I like calls above 175 if it's able to hold. Not looking for a huge pop, looking for a move, back near 177, so about 2 points. But Apple, for the most part on Friday, put up a fight, right, at 175. We did see a move lower, but notice how the buyers quickly stepped up and we were able to make a move back up into 175 shortly thereafter. So with Apple, if we do see reclaim of 175, I definitely do like calls. Okay, I'm looking at the 177.50 calls, looking for a push off of 175, targeting 176, and then targeting about 177 there. Okay, so pretty simple approach, and then puts under 173.50 there. Okay. Alrighty, now Google is probably still the favorite for breakout to the upside over this key 138 level. Now, Google last week, right? Google's kind of been in the trend of breaking out for a couple days, seeing a pretty significant move, consolidating, breaking out for a couple of days, consolidating, and then breaking out. And Google's in the process of seeing that breakout again this week, right? Tried last week there on Thursday, couldn't really get through. Friday, it tried to get through 138 again, and the same thing, ended up pulling back, right, just following the overall market. But Google did find significant support at around 137. So if Google can clear 138 this week, I definitely do like calls. If we see any sort of strength within the overall market, I like Google over 138. Okay, Google is probably the favorite for upside just because of where it's at, trading for the most part at 52-week highs and holding very, very well. Okay, so keep an eye on 138 for that breakout to the upside. And the main target there is about 140, so about 2 points. And so decent R&R on that setup. Alrighty. Now the next one here is Coin. So Coin, for the most part, still been developing and holding up really, really well following this multi-week downtrend that it is starting to break out of. And Coin here on the daily is holding higher lows. All right. And we have a resistance of about 83.20, right, which is really the main level that we have to clear. And last week we tried to get through there on Tuesday, ended up pulling back. We hit went about like 86 there at the highs, ended up pulling back. And then Thursday, right, was able to see around 84 before pulling back. But every dip into that 80 range continues to get bought up. So if coin can get through 83.20 this week, I definitely do like calls. Okay, ideally we have a catalyst on this because coin really does need a catalyst to get through 83.20. It's a huge spot. We've seen a lot of interaction with the buyers and sellers at this level. So ideally, we do have a catalyst to really get it through this range. But once it does, I think we can test 85 again and ultimately a push back up towards 80. Oh, sorry, 90. All right, we do have that resistance at 86.50, and if we can clear that, I definitely do think 90 can come. But over 83.20, I like 85 as a target and 86.50 as a target. All right. Okay. So the last setup here is AMD. Now AMD, it's all about 100. Okay. On the weekly, especially on Wednesday with the weekly, this was setting up to be a really strong call play. And keep in mind that AMD is still within, right, this weekly bull flag ultimately, but really does need to clear, 109, 112 to start making some higher highs. Okay, last week we popped up into 109, couldn't get any higher than that for the most part, and sold off aggressively on Friday. All right, so for this week, again, all about 100. I don't really want to look for a position on AMD unless we can actually get a print of 100. All right, now for puts, what I need to see for AMD to take puts under 100 is above average selling volume to the downside, or some sort of bearish catalyst, or the overall market breaking down post FOMC. Okay, if AMD doesn't have a bearish catalyst tomorrow, but we see a break of 100, followed by a quick reclaim, and we don't have that above average selling volume, the likelihood of it bouncing off of 100 is high. Okay, so be patient with this name, right? It may be something that we trade tomorrow, may not be, maybe something we trade later on in the week, but be patient with it. Okay, I do think it may need some time, but if it holds 100 again, this could print a weekly double bottom and end up breaking out of this bull flag to the upside. Okay, getting very, very tight here, so I do think a really significant move can happen soon, whether it's under 100 or whether it's off of 100 and through 112 to the upside. Okay. All right. So let's cover SPY and QQQ, and then we can wrap things up. So the biggest thing here with QQQ is this double inside week. Okay. And it's extremely rare to have a double inside week on QQQ and SPY. Right. The last time we did this was back in April, where we had a double inside week, almost a triple inside week, and then we were able to break out. So with QQQ this week, two main levels. Okay, downside is 370, and then upside ultimately is 380 at this point. 378 will be a significance, but to get this double inside weekly breakout, we do need to get through 380. Okay, so the way that I want to approach QQQ this week is, look for puts under 370. If we fail there, this is likely going to be post FOMC, but we did, test 370 multiple times on Friday, but we were able to hold. Okay, so if we fail at 370, I do like puts. I think we can see it move back down near 367 to 365. But if we hold 370 early on in the week, all right, we could look for a bounce, or we could just play names that are showing relative strength, which is what I want to do. But we need to get through 378, 380 for calls. So for the most part, I do think QQQ can trade within this range of 370 and 380 again before FOMC, and then following FOMC, we will see the larger move. Okay, last week was very choppy, right? Overall, it's waiting for FOMC this week. We did have some data last week, right? CPI and PPI, and the overall market again is just waiting for FOMC. So the biggest thing to start the week off is to be patient, right? Don't oversize, don't over leverage yourself. Wait for that momentum. Wait for names to show relative strength or wait for news. You know, that's when the money is going to be made. Okay, not trying to catch these little moves. Uh, momentum is your friend in trading, especially when trading options, and especially when trading weekly options. You need that momentum. So wait for that momentum, right? QQQ in a double inside weekly pattern in a 10-point range. So under 370, I'm bearish. Over 378 to 380, I'm bullish. And that's how I'm going to approach the week. SPY, same kind of thing here. Um, Overall with SPY though, it is more of a range. Okay. So with SPY, this needs to hold 444, which again is a key level, and then ultimately hold about 442. So it's a 2-point range. So under 444 and under 442, I'm bearish, but over 448, 450, I'm bullish. Okay. So again, about, with this one, it's about 10-point range as well. Okay. So under 442, I like puts targeting 440, potentially 435. And then, excuse me, over 450, I like a push up into 452 and about 454. And over 454, I think that we could see that gap fill at around 456. So yeah, again, with these consolidations, we have to sit patient because once that consolidation breaks, then the likelihood of a larger move, right, is very, very high, especially if you have news, supporting that consolidation break um, and above average volume. So that's really what I'm gonna be looking for. So yeah, let's see what the week brings. To kind of start the week off, my main focus is going to be Netflix off of 400 and Google, since we are showing that relative strength, and Apple off of 175 if we do hold it. Now, with the weekly on Apple, this isn't something that I would be overly bullish with, just because it is showing a lot of weakness. We do have an inside week where we closed at the lows. So looking for the bounce, it's not going to be something that I size heavily with, and it's not going to be something that I want to swing. It's just going to be a day trade for the most part, get in and get out. Okay. So again, let's see what the week brings. Big week with FOMC, but I hope everyone does well. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to everybody tomorrow. Take care.